A while back, I bought a toaster oven at the thrift shop. And upon hearing that, you might think, big deal. There's always toaster ovens at the thrift shop. But they're not like this. This is the craziest toaster oven you have ever seen, and it cooks in a way that's different from every other toaster oven. It literally cooks food in a flash. Today, I'm going to tell you why the Panasonic FlashXpress is weird yet wonderful. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and we are doing another thrift store find today. This is the Panasonic FlashXpress, and despite its retro looks, this is actually still being made. These retail for about $150. Of course, I paid much less than that at the thrift store. It was probably like $10 or something like that, and I use this constantly. But I don't use it for all things that I would in a normal toaster oven. I do still have a regular toaster oven that I use for other things, and we'll get into that. But what I use this for, well, it works really, really well. So yes, this toaster oven looks different from every other toaster oven that you've seen, but that's just the beginning. What really sets this apart is the way it cooks. This uses infrared heat versus convection heat, like almost every other toaster oven and oven for that matter. And the difference is that is a direct heat versus an indirect heat. And by that I mean it heats the food directly versus indirectly. An analogy to this might be, well, let's say toasting a tortilla directly over a flame, a direct heat, versus, well, just cooking something in a normal oven, which heats the air that then heats the food. Another example of direct heat would be, well, grilling on a grill where you have the flames coming up, or under a broiler where you have those flames directly hitting and heating the food. This sort of infrared direct heating is far more intense than traditional convection heating. So what's the benefit of using this type of technology in this toaster oven? Well, there's no preheating. It heats instantly. And that means that it cooks food faster. So unlike a regular oven or toaster oven where you have to wait for it to preheat and heat that air inside the oven, when you turn this on, it starts cooking immediately. It's like a light, literally. Now this uses two infrared heating elements, one made of ceramic and one made of quartz, and one of them, Panasonic says, is for cooking the outside of the food, while the other one cooks the inside of the food, so everything is nice and cooked together. Now this isn't the only infrared toaster oven on the market. Toshiba makes one, I think a few others make one too, but among them I think this one is pretty well known. I'd actually heard of it years ago and then just kind of forgot about it, and then when I saw it at the thrift store I kind of went berserk. I thought it was so cool and I was like, well, for 10 bucks or whatever, I've got to give it a try, and I'm so glad that I did because it works really, really well. So let me demo the ways in which it really does work well, and then I'll tell you about some ways in which it doesn't. So just in case you're shopping for this model or you happen to find one at a thrift shop, you'll know exactly what you're in for. Now this toaster oven looks a little different than a normal toaster oven, and it also has kind of some different features. Now of course it does have a toast function, but it's also got a dedicated frozen waffle function, a roll function, then there's a frozen pizza function, although what you should know is that this is really small in here, relatively speaking. I think it'll only fit about a 9-inch pizza, so just know that if you get one of these. If you are like a fan of those 12-inch pizzas, well, that's not gonna fit in here. There's also a quick reheat button. That's for something like, let's say if you want to reheat some French fries or something. And then oddly enough, there is a hash brown button. So if you are a fan of those frozen hash browns, it's got a button just for you to cook those, and it works really, really well. Now, as for other controls, this does have them, and let me show you kind of how they work because they are a little bit wonky. It's not quite as simple as a regular toaster oven. So it's got these temperatures here in both Fahrenheit and Celsius, but as you can see, you can't really get exact temperatures if you want something like 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You have to kind of adjust these, and it's based more on the Celsius degree. Now there is a timer on this, but it only goes up to 25 minutes. So if you need to bake something that is longer than 25 minutes, well, you have to just kind of redo it and let it bake again. Another thing to note is that you need to make your selections quick on this. So once you turn this on, you only have about 10 seconds to kind of, program how hot you want it and what time you want, because otherwise it just, starts up and there it goes. To reset it, you have to turn it off and then redo everything a little bit faster. I should mention that like other toaster ovens, there is a pull-out crumb tray. You just pull it out and here it is. It's rather flimsy. And one thing to note that Panasonic says in its instructions is not to put foil over this. It says that if you do that, the toaster oven can actually get too hot. So just know that if you get one of these, don't foil over this crumb tray, and you will want to keep it really clean because it can get really hot in there, and that can cause those crumbs to burn. So let me show you just how well this cooks, and we'll begin with some toast. So first of all, you do have to turn it on. You press this power button, you see this little red light that comes on. And as you can see, the tray is actually mounted to the door. It's really convenient so that when you open the door, it moves the tray with it. Okay, so we'll put our bread in here. This is gluten-free bread since I'm gluten-free, but it works just as well with other types. We'll close this, and then we will press the toast button. Now you can also use a shade control. I like mine a little bit darker, so we'll just kind of darken it here. And as you can see, it immediately just illuminates. And that isn't just for looks, that is the infrared that's going on here. And Panasonic, in its instruction manual for this, says, don't stare at this because it is really, really bright. So the infrared is kind of doing its thing, and I'll show you what the toast looks like after it's done. Now this only takes a couple minutes. It really is fast. Certainly a lot faster than a traditional toaster oven. So when it's done, it makes that sound, and that took no time. And this was at its highest setting. That just took a couple of minutes. And as you can see, we have this really nice toast. And that was a lot faster than a traditional toaster oven, and I think as fast or faster than a regular toaster. And unlike a regular toaster, you don't have like only those parts that are toasted. You have all of it. Now on the back, there are some striations here, but still, it is a really nice, even toasting that this does because it is just being showered by that infrared heat. Now, you do have to manually turn this off when it is done. You don't want to just leave this on. That's just kind of part of its quirkiness. So when you are done using it, you do have to power it off. And Panasonic also recommends actually unplugging it too. Good toast. Now, perhaps as expected from a device that has a dedicated hash brown setting, another thing that this toaster oven excels at is, cooking these frozen hash browns. To be honest, I wasn't really a big fan of frozen hash browns, and then I actually found these and I love them. I found these at Aldi a while back, and they are the best frozen hash browns I've ever had. That's not a plug or anything. They're not paying me to say that. They're just really, really good. I looked, they actually come from Belgium, and I was in Belgium a couple years ago, and I can attest, they know what they're doing with potatoes. So for you Belgium viewers out there, kudos. So let me show you just how well this cooks these frozen hash browns. And again, if you are a fan of frozen hash browns, this might be your new favorite appliance in the kitchen. Okay, so I put a couple hash browns on a tray here, which you can foil, by the way. That is okay to foil the tray, just not the breadcrumb tray. Now, this actually does come with a little griddle tray if you buy it new. This one didn't since I got it at the thrift shop, but it's fine. I just found another tray and I foiled it over. So here we go. We will put these in. Again, we'll press our on button and we will just press the hash brown button. Again, I like mine a little bit darker, and there it goes. There is a little countdown timer here. For this, it takes about 7 minutes, which is actually a lot faster than if you were to wait for a regular oven to kind of preheat and do its thing. These really are ready in a flash, and I'll show you what they look like when they're done, and well, they are delicious. Okay, the timer went off and this thing gets so hot. Let me tell you, I can just feel the heat emanating off this thing. But look at this. We have these perfect hash browns. And again, if you're a fan of hash browns, this makes them amazingly well. As you might expect, it also makes frozen waffles really well, and it also does a nice job of reheating food with that reheat function. Now, let's talk about some of the things it doesn't do very well. And first of all, well, its size is compact, and for some folks who are maybe limited on their kitchen space, that's a positive, but for others, well, it might be a negative. You can't fit a whole lot of food in here. Like I say, you can't fit like a big pizza or anything like that in here. It is pretty small on the inside. Now let's talk about its baking functionality. Now, while it can go up to 500 degrees, which is higher than other toaster ovens, it's really not the best at baking, and that's because of that direct radiant heating method. What tends to happen is it can just kind of brown the outside too much without fully cooking the inside. So if you do want to bake with one of these, I think you're really going to have to experiment. But when I want to bake something like my breakfast bars, I just do it in a regular toaster oven. I don't use this for that sort of thing. If you're a fan of cooking meats or fish in your toaster oven, well, you're probably going to not want this either. So Panasonic warns that because of that crazy infrared cooking, if you have like an oily meat or an oily fish, it can actually catch fire. Catching fire is a pretty common theme if you read the instruction manual for this thing. So they suggest that if you do want to cook fish or chicken or beef or something like that, then you have to wrap it in a foil, which, you know, isn't always the best. So if you want to cook meat in a toaster oven, this probably isn't your best choice. And finally, there's no denying that the controls are just a little bit fussy. It's not quite as easy as another toaster oven where you just turn a dial and maybe press a button and it goes. You have to kind of figure out the timing here. You have to do it quickly. You have to remember to turn this button off to completely turn it off, and then, you know, possibly just unplug it as Panasonic suggests. So it is just a little bit wonky. And you also want to make sure that you're not staring at it, nor is anybody in your house. So if you have small kids or something like that who maybe want to just gaze at the toaster oven, well, this one probably isn't for you. That, or you just want to give them maybe a welding visor. But this is the Panasonic FlashXpress toaster oven. Again, I'm so glad that I found it, and you know, for the price that I paid for it, it was a bargain. I use it all the time. Whether it's something for you, well, hopefully this video will help you determine that, but it certainly is different. It certainly is kind of crazy, and I really like it just because of its kind of weird quirkiness and the fact that it cooks toast and hash browns just so fast. I mean, the amount of time it has saved me in the mornings, well, that alone would probably be worth the price of admission, even full price for this thing. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Welcome to my kitchen. I am so glad that you are here. Until next time, I hope you want to cook.